Hello, Rachel Russell here, just wanting to do a little update video for those with the Bob Beck machine. So it's been an interesting journey thus far and we've learnt a lot. So I just wanted to go through what you'd receive in terms of the Bob Beck unit. So this is the box it comes in. I'm going to open it from the back end. But just to show an example of really how you would open it and what you're expecting to find inside the glorious little box. So there's a nice little carry case, nice and portable, great for going out with. So I'm just going to unzip it, there we go, and figure out which way it goes up, there we are. So that's essentially how it comes, and so this is the last thing we fill out, and it's a tick, it's upside down, oh, no it isn't. So it's just a tick list. You can pause the video now just to see what we have inside the box. And then we have an illustration essentially of what, sorry about the reflection, of what is inside it and how to use it. I don't know if that writing is going to come out correctly, but anyway, you'll receive it in the box. So it just shows you the different jacks in which you plug in for different purposes. So one is for colloidal silver, which is this one on the left, and it always has a little yellow light if the rods are activated in the water. I will demonstrate. And then the one, that's a 2.5 jack. And this is a 3.5 jack for the blood cleansing unit, and this is your potentiometer, it's called. Learning all these technical phrases. So yeah, so this turns it on. Now this knob just needs to be turned on for the colloidal silver, but for the actual blood cleansing, the potentiometer, that's when you turn it on, and you feel how or what is comfortable as you turn it up. I'll explain that shortly. Okay, so then you have the unit, so voila, and then this is your 3.5 millimeter jack for your blood cleansing, and I will show you shortly, but these clip on to your, they're like TENS pads to electrify the blood. This is a puck or stabilizer for the silver rods. So I shall demonstrate whilst dropping everything. So they come in a nice little test tube just to keep them straight and safe. And these are 1.5 millimeter thickness, and they're 148 millimeters long. So they are longer than I've looked online, than I suppose most colloidal silver makers. Right. So voila, this is the so it's basically we've made this with a 3D printer, and you pull the speaker connector. It's quite an ingenious one actually. So the speaker connector just slots in there. You pull it down, slot it in, let go, and it's stable. So next one goes in. Slot it in. There we go. Oops, daisy, didn't do that correctly. Would help if I actually looked to see what I was doing. Right. There we go. Right. So they're in now. They're stabilised. It is recommended that you have them 1.5 inches apart. That's approximately essentially that. And then you plug in your jack to this part and pop it in your water. So I'm just going to take those out for now, pop them down there, illustrated. And then inside the box you have a zip compartment, and here you have, bring it up, you have some pads to clean your silver rods, and it's very useful. I'll come back to this point actually, in terms of making your colloidal silver. You get a battery. International, unfortunately, we can't send batteries, so you might have to provide your own. But on that note, actually, you can buy these rechargeable batteries. We thought they were quite nifty, actually. But you can plug it in, literally, just like you would plug in your phone to recharge it. You can recharge these 9-volt batteries, and they're red, and they glow red at the top when they're charging, and then when they're completed, they glow green. And that makes the Bob Beck unit last twice as long. So the original design was to have 3 9-volt batteries in the Bob Beck unit equaling 27 volts. So what we've done is we've used a step up in order to boost the battery 3 times with a component inside, which uses 1 milliamp, which is very small. Some of them use a lot more. But yeah, so that enables you to use it portably. Otherwise it would be quite a big chunker machine. But it makes it more portable and great for travelling, etc. So that you can use it at your convenience. So, and then you have 4 pads, TENS pads that come with it. So these I will demonstrate. So these go onto your wrist to electrify your blood. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, I'm missing one. 4. So there's. Ooh, if I can hold them still. So there's 4 in there in each box, and then you have your 2.5mm jack cable, which is for your ionic colloidal silver maker. So that stays in the box. Voila. And then the battery compartment, very easy to put the battery in. There we go. So it gives instructions, most people call them, as to which one you put in. So that side here is the bigger side of it. That's how I do it anyway. So yeah, I pop it in. Let me just demonstrate correctly. So yeah, pop it in and it just clips in. Oh dear. There we go. Yeah. So there. So it's plugged in or clipped in, and then you just slot the top back on, and then turn it on. Now, if there's a green and red flashing light, it means the battery is working correctly. And when the yellow light comes on, it's because it's actually activated the colloidal silver. I'm just going to put that down because I've got another workable model with me. It's my little machine. So I'm going to do the blood cleansing first. So essentially, let me get my pads out. There we go. It's my Blue Peter version. So you want to keep these in a sealed bag. Just keep them sealed up because they do lose their moisture and then they don't stick as well. And then the conductivity that you then have for the blood cleansing reduces. And you want to make it as effective as possible whilst you're doing this. And we've had people doing it whilst they're doing great big long walks and things, and which is great, you know, that they incorporate it during their day and they make time for it. Personally, I think it's nice to relax and know that you're healing your body at the same time. So yeah, so the 2 main areas of the body where the arteries actually go above the bone are your wrist and the inside of your knee. So it's easier to get to on your wrist, obviously. So you have your nice big pulse. Generally, is about there. Now you measure it with your fingers rather than your thumb, because apparently your thumb has its own pulse. Who would have thought? So yeah, so oh, I can feel a really good pulse there. but I've drunk quite a lot of liquid today. So yeah, and then your second one, am I demonstrating this correctly? There we go, yeah, I can feel it there. And then the second one for me is a little bit further up to the other side of the wrist. You don't want your pads touching, absolutely not. Yeah, but if you can't, this one, people really find difficulty in finding this pulse. If you find it difficult, drink some water first, and then shortly after, you can lower your arm and use, I was going to say gravity, but anyway, you can so make your heart actually work a little bit harder. And I don't know if you can see, my veins are starting to pop out a little bit more on my arm. Just see it. So yeah, so find your second pulse, and then you want to take off the plastic part and gently pop it on where you found your first. So you can make a mark on your arm if you really want to, just to make it easier. I've done it quite a few times now, so I know exactly where it is. So I've just stuck it down. Oops, daisy. There. Ooh, it's very bright in here. So yeah. So number 1, and then numero 2. Number 2. Oops. Sticky, very sticky. So the second one I know is there. So there is 3 milliamps at the top here going in, will be, and then if I turn my arm it looks like I've got it on the other side of the yes, now there are a million microamps in 1 milliamp, and by the time it actually gets down to your blood supply, it will be approximately 150 microamps. So that is so yeah, so very small amount, but it's the amount that actually has an effect on your parasites, your bacteria, viruses, fungus, taking it back to your original DNA essentially. Some people call it God DNA. Anyway, so with your 3.5 lead, you will want to clip it on. So very easy, basically. Other machines actually use rods, and then you've got to use salt water and keep it moist and strap it up. And now, you know, some people don't like those versions because they can burn the skin. But anyway, it's good to have precaution in all sorts of things. But this is a really nice way of doing it, in my humble opinion. Excuse me. Right, so I'm just going to plug it in and just check the battery, red and green, jolly good, because that flash disappears, and that is the original design. So yeah, so I turn it on, and that is now electrifying my blood. So I can turn it up or I can turn it down, depending on what's actually comfortable. And when you turn it really high, you might get a jolting effect on your thumb or some part of your hand. Pardon me, you don't want to do that. You just have it so that basically you can't really feel anything. And if it becomes prickly or anything, then check that your pads are moist. If you need to re-moisten them, pop them on a saucer with some slightly salty water, natural salt, not table salt, or just water even, and just let them for an hour or two just reabsorb the water, and then pop the plastic sticker back on, and then pop them back in the bag. But yeah, rehydrating them is a good thing. So, et voilà, electrocution. So yeah, so I'm going to unplug that. I'm going to keep the lead actually because I want to demonstrate something else with the colloidal silver side of things. There. So colloidal silver. Now this makes, because it's a continuous current, I've been researching this a bit more. So ionic colloidal silver is, you can make it via the constant current, which is this one, which creates the micro or the nano or ionic elements of silver, and that's tiny particles that you basically can't see with the naked eye. Now when you do it with tap water, so I said that in my first video that tap water was okay to use, and Bob Beck did a demonstration and he used just normal tap water, but because of the ways in which you can use it otherwise, if you do it with distilled water, so much better, because it's pure. And when you put the rods into normal water, you get a really cloudy solution. It's like a milky, like you dropped a bit of milk into water, and so it becomes all cloudy. I mean, it's fascinating to watch, but if you take a ppm meter and pop it into glass of tap water, then there are approximately, I don't know, anywhere between 200 and 500 parts per million. And because you're you know, potentially electrifying chlorine, and then so is it chlorine dioxide? I can't remember the name of it now. But when you electrify chlorine, it's really not good. So that can be toxic to the body and have a bad reaction. So I was also thinking about the amount of pharma products that are also in our water. So we have all sorts of people on medication, whether it's birth control, whether it's statins, whether it's all sorts of things. And we don't really know what these particles are. So best to be safe than sorry. We bought a distiller off, well, it was secondhand basically. We took it all apart and cleaned it and put it back together, and it's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. So we can make our own distilled water, and then we can make our own ionic colloidal silver. What do I start with first? So, whoopsie daisy. I'm just going to show you this. So, because colloidal silver does actually, it's affected through daylight, I just pop, let me just take those out. I pop the whole jar into a jug, basically. I've just used a normal jar, and that's just got distilled water in it, so just to keep the sunlight out as much as possible, really. And then, oh, that's heavy. I'm going to plug in. Now, I don't know if you can see here, we've got one of the rods is slightly darker. So one of them is electrified, whereas the other isn't. And this is a good puck because you can swap them round rather quickly, because when I actually feel the 1.5mm rods that we had originally, they're much thicker now than these. I mean, we've made gallons and gallons and gallons of ionic colloidal silver for friends, family, etc., and for our animals. So one of them will depart the silver particles, the nanoparticles, into the water. And it does actually take a lot longer to make colloidal silver with distilled water, because when it goes in, it doesn't actually have that much to react against. So with tap water, because there are so many elements, it's firing off on all cylinders, but not necessarily for the beneficial side of things. I've forgotten to bring some tissue up actually for wiping these, but yeah, so you can use these scouring pads and clean them. Yes, they do get dirty, but there's no point hovering over it every kind of 5, 10, 15 minutes to clean them. Just let it get on with it, and then you can filter it afterwards. So yeah, so I just literally use a coffee filter in order to filter it afterwards. So that's the rods. Let me plug, here we go. Let me plug. So this is 2.5 on each end, so it doesn't really matter which end you do it with. So clip it in. And then pop it in. Now, you notice when I turn it on, there is the flashing light. The yellow light hasn't come on yet. But in order to save the battery, this does take up power with it flashing on red and green constantly. So what I do, even if I'm not blood cleansing, I stick that part in so that it doesn't flash constantly, and just to save the battery as well. If you're not too bothered and you like the flasher, carry on. So I'm just going to pop these into there. Yeah. So it's got kind of different points in which you can kind of hook it onto it, which is rather useful. But you should see this yellow light come on when I turn it on this time. There we go. So it's activated. There we go. And it doesn't matter on the knob side of things how much you turn it up. It's just on or off. Anyway, so yeah. So there you go. And then all I do is, I hope you can see this in the picture. I cover it just to let or stop, you know, as much sunlight getting in as possible. So I do this for a few hours and I test it. So I test the water before it goes in to either make sure it's 1 ppm or 0. It doesn't go anywhere above that. So, and if it's 1 ppm, I just take that 1 ppm off the full amount at the end, so that I know what ppm, parts per million, it is. Oopsie daisy. For giving it away, but because it's nano or it's ionic, it's much more potent than other parts or other examples of colloidal silver. But that's because of the constant current. So there are different ways. So then I just use a funnel to not waste any, get it into different bottles now. And when I do this, you know, you can. This is just, you know, paper that I've got in packaging, and if you're pouring it into a jar through the funnel before you put it into your whilst you're filtering it. So essentially that goes on the top of your jar, and I just cover it just to stop as much sunlight as possible getting in. So yeah, let me just. So then, one of my favourites is glass. Much prefer glass to keep things in, but depending on ease of use, travelling with it, etc., you may want other ones. So there is also my favourite, and I don't have any yet, is Myron glass, which is M-I-R-O-N, and there's different distributors there. It's expensive, but beautiful glass and doesn't degrade the ionic colloidal silver if it's in any light. So yeah, but there's other. Oh, excuse me. There's other options of. So this is an example pouch that you can buy online. This is for 500 millilitres of. We haven't got any labels done yet, but this one is 11 ppm ionic colloidal silver. We got an amazing testimonial actually from our friend, because there's different ways. And oh well, this is another bottle actually. So you can keep it. This is plastic, as you can see. Actually, the other pouch, just before I move on, what have I just done with it? Is really good for posting. So if you need to post to anybody, then they're a good solution. Otherwise, that's a litre bottle. So yeah, so testimonial from a friend of ours. So he had bad asthma, and I think in the recent few years he's had an infection, and his inhalers really weren't benefiting him any longer, and he loves sport, so I think he was finding it quite difficult to progress with that. So this is an example. I mean, I actually cover it. It's maybe rather crude, but I cover it with a sock. It's lost its elasticity at the top. But that's it's for two reasons actually. That's for keeping the sunlight out, because the top of it is all kind of clear, so that would stop the sunlight getting in. But also because I use it with my chickens in this day and age, it actually it's less menacing for them. They seem to accept it a lot more when I do it in this. When it's in its purest natural plastic white, maybe it's just a bit too in your face. So there are loads of attachments that you can get, but I prefer not to use them. But this is a nebulizer. I bought this from eBay for about £18. Little handheld one. You can get ones that sit on the on your desktop, etc. That are more powerful and probably better for you. But I like this one because it's a nice kind of handheld example of it. And I've used this specifically because we have black mould in the house, and this is how we actually discovered all of this in the first place, because we were looking for a solution. The solution to chronic black mould, I don't know, I was just sleeping a lot, no quality of life, which is rubbish, and it said that basically to recover from it took 6 months to a whole year. So, and I wasn't planning on doing that for sleeping for that long of my life. There's too many good things in life to do. Anyway, so we found ionic colloidal silver, the nebulizer, and it's changed my life because I got my energy back. I feel like I've got warehouses for my lungs, rather than just kind of a small amount of my lungs, and I was coughing a lot. What else? Fatigue. Just kind of my immune system was down, and so I was picking everything up from other people. So this has been amazing, amazing find, and I've been sending off colloidal silver to people who have either children with asthma or people that suffer from all sorts of different things. But yeah, any kind of lung issues. What's the allergies? I'm trying to think of the word with pollen. I can't think of the word. I'll watch this back and remember exactly what it was. But yeah, if you're suffering with, can't think of it. From pollen. God, what's the name? Anyway, if you're suffering from that side of things, then it does ease it. Any chest infections, coughs, sore throats, etc. And also even toothache. And colloidal silver, people have reported, and I've certainly felt it recently, that there is less plaque on your teeth if you drink colloidal or spray colloidal silver in your mouth. So I spray it in my ears because I've had earache. I get loads of dust in my eyes. I do lots of gardening in the field, or in the polytunnel especially, because it's quite dry in there and the chickens like to kick up the dust and dust themselves off. So I like to spray it in my eyes. Great for styes. Any issues with your eyes, as long as it's pure good stuff, it's not been made with tap water. You can use the nebulizer, etc. I wouldn't use the nebulizer with any kind of tap water colloidal silver, just to be on the safe side really more than anything. So under the tongue, great, because it's a really good place to absorb things, and then you can spray it in your eyes, spray it in your ears. Most people use droppers and stuff in their ears, but I don't like droppers for some reason. I like to just spray it in and it trickles in nicely. So if you can, because you're not cleaning the rods constantly, it is a good idea to use a coffee filter, because it will catch all the essentially icebergs of silver going in, and you can't pick it out and reuse it as silver because it's I can't remember what the word is, but it goes to a carbon element. I'm not good with all those scientific words and things, but So yeah, so that is the ionic colloidal silver blood cleanser along with it. So that when you drink the ionic colloidal silver, in fact, I will do a demonstration. So I have literally a shot of this per day. Let me pour it out. So yeah, so some people have shots of tequila. I have a shot of silver. So you can even pop it in your bath as well. So you can bathe in it, you can spray it, you can smoke it. I call it smoking it, just as a funny line. But yeah, so it's great to drink and swirl it around your mouth a bit. It tastes a bit like metal caramel. It's bizarre. But I don't know if you can see, it is, maybe if I put it up against a white piece of paper, you can see it's kind of slightly yellowy. That's essentially the colour that you're kind of looking for. I'll cover that. So, bottoms up. Bellissimo. Right. So other sources of information. You can look at Bob Beck on YouTube, and he actually creates. I mean, he's got some fantastic videos on his on the YouTube channel. Bob unfortunately passed. I can't remember 2000, 2001, 2003. Anyway, years ago now. Bless him. And he was hounded pretty much for all his life. Because he'd taken this, technology. He found it, but it was being inserted physically. Let me take these off while I'm thinking about it. So he had, he'd found that they had patented it in order to sort out the parasites, fungus, bacteria, etc., all the things that we don't need in our blood that cause all sorts of diseases. And as a disclaimer, I'm not offering any health advice here, but it's just for a life plus. So he discovered this technology, but they were physically cutting in to the wrist and inserting them with the battery inside, and then they would have to reopen in order to change the battery every so often. And it was a very costly event because it cost, I think, about $6,000 US or whatever it was at that point, in order just to change the battery. So what he did was he converted it. He was a clever chap. He converted it so that you just literally have the electrodes on the top of your skin, which is then where the microamps, etc., actually are penetrating into the arteries, not blood vessels, not capillaries, not veins, but your arteries, your main arteries. So on YouTube it's got videos of him talking all about the Bob Beck unit, and it's very inspiring because he talks about, you know, the things that it can help with. And so I think Bob Beck said that it has a success with 95% of cancers, and then HIV. These are not my words. There's ME. You know, all sorts of people are suffering with lots of different things these days. There is a pandemic of issues from our atmosphere, from the food, from the drink, from our daily lives. Essentially, there is we're bombarded. Us pesky humans just keep surviving. So you can find him on YouTube with some of the talks that he did a long time ago. But then also there's a load of testimonials on there for people that have suffered with cancer, people, children with leukemia, asthma, all sorts of issues. So go and have a look at that. But I mean, for me personally, I've used the ionic colloidal silver very successfully on my lungs. And it's so nice to have energy back, I must say. So yeah, there's also the Bob Beck Facebook group. I don't know if all of you or any of you are on Facebook still, but yeah, there's a channel there as well. There's a load of information. If you don't mind being bombarded and you're more left-brained than I am, then rexresearch.com is a really good resource for all sorts of information. REX and then research.com is the URL for that one. Has some amazing discoveries using ionic colloidal silver and to regrow hands and all sorts of different things, and that was done by another chap, and quite bizarrely enough, very similar name, Robert Becker. So if you look on Rex Research and look for Robert Becker, you can find some information about the way in which they've used it to regrow hands, etc., etc., for people that have had like bad burns or anything like that. So instead of using surgery and yeah, so reactivating the gene essentially that regrows things. Great. I don't know why we're not doing this in our healthcare, you know, to regrow teeth, etc. But anyway, moving on. So another resource is the Silver Edge, thesilveredge.com. And that's got loads of testimonials of written testimonials of people that have used it and how they found it, etc. These are kind of more colloidal silver things, and then there's ukcolloidalsilver.co.uk, and this is a company. Now I don't know if their ionic colloidal, or I don't know if their colloidal silver is ionic or nano, but it's just got some lovely videos of how they use colloidal silver with their animals. It's got a picture of a cat and it's just kind of lapping it up, and that's actually what I do with my chicken. I bring my chicken onto my lap if any of them are poorly, and yeah, they do actually enjoy it in the end. Yeah, so that's that. Have I forgotten to mention anything? Oh yeah, okay, so I did drink some, but just to show you the ppm, so I'm just reusing the bottle. It's not actually what it says on the tin. But yeah, so the ppm meter, what have I done with it? I've just seen it, here we go. The ppm meter is about £3 or £4 online. You can buy them. So I just turn it on and pop it in. So that is, whoop, 12. It looked like 15 when I was looking at it from the screen. So yeah, so that's 12 ppm that I drank. Yeah. Now some people think that it destroys your natural biosystem if you drink too much of it. There is also the thought that you can go blue, but that's generally with if you drink loads of it and you've used tap water to do the colloidal silver, so it's the chemical reaction in that, or you use sterling silver, not a good idea, for your rods. So these rods are 99.99% pure silver, not sterling silver. So you can be confident and rely upon the fact that you're making something that's beneficial to your body. So yes, I think I have explained as much as I wanted to. So yeah, so I hope it's been inspiring, and you know, I guess I call this the self-responsibility kit, or yeah, because you know, life is a myriad of possibilities. You know, what you drink, what you eat. Another part of the Bob Beck protocol is don't drink alcohol, don't smoke, don't take pharmaceutical products, recreational drugs, etc. So, excuse me, if you take anything before you blood cleanse or after, you run into the possibility of having a reaction. Because your blood is electrified, everything is absorbing a lot more. So if you then drink alcohol before you do your blood cleansing, basically it's going to have the effect of approximately, I don't know, 30 times. It's approximately 30 times the amount in which you've had. So beware. And also because your cells are electrified, you don't want them, to become even more toxic if you're trying to heal yourself. So best to stay off other things. I had a bad reaction the first time I did it, which was silly. I wasn't thinking, so and yeah, wasn't an enjoyable experience actually. So yeah, I learnt my lesson quickly. But yeah, so what was the other thing I was going to say? Not to take those at the same time. There was something else that I wanted to say, but I can't actually remember. Don't take it. And some people do still drink, a little bit of coffee in the morning. If you have problems not having a coffee in the morning, now scientifically, more effective than coffee is 1 apple in the morning, has a more beneficial effect on the body. Of course, you're having vitamins, etc. as well. But yeah, an apple a day keeps the doctor away if you eat the whole apple. So the seeds contain cyanide and vitamins in them. And what the cyanide does, apparently, is attack the overweighted, overfloppy, diseased, or potentially cancerous cells, and demolishes them. Oh, that was another thing I was going to say. Part of the protocol for Beck, people that have had a bad reaction to something that's happened recently, they would find an ozonator very beneficial. And an ozonator basically adds extra oxygen into the water, but it has to be drunk 20 minutes, within 20 minutes of making it. And that really does massively reduce a sicky feeling or being sick from your body detoxifying. Yeah, so that's a very beneficial one. There is also a pulsar, so it provides a charge for kind of areas in which you may not have enough blood flow. So if you've had root canal treatment, etc., then there isn't a live tooth there, so your blood isn't kind of changing that. And when you're blood cleansing, I forgot to mention this actually, that when the current is going through your wrist, it will take approximately 9 minutes to do the whole blood in your body. So every 9 minutes the blood will flow through your arteries here, the one area of your body that it goes over the bones. Was I going to say anything else? Yes. So the pulsar, people have had amazing results from it. Look it up on the Beck protocol. Another way to do it is, so beehives hum in the tune of C, and you can get a weighted, it has to be a weighted one, you can get a weighted tuning fork at the 32 hertz, excuse me, and place it on the body in different areas in order to have the beneficial effect, the same as a pulsar. Excuse me. But there's a whole way of doing things. You can eat healthily, whatever you think healthy is. If you really need to detox, heavy metals, do chlorella, look it up. Self-selection chlorella, which is where you just dab it, and when it tastes disgusting, your body has physically had enough. If you take it in tablets, you don't know actually how much your body needs, and you can have other effects of detoxification. So yeah, a healthy mind, so positive thinking, positive affirmations, retrain your brain, all sorts of different ways of doing that. There's eating healthy, there's staying hydrated. Very important is the hydration side of things, and what Bob Beck recommends on the amount of drinking, etc. If you're drinking the colloidal silver, I wouldn't drink a full glass of it, definitely not when it's pure. You can have water and then top it up, because this is ionic colloidal silver, it's very potent, so I just add you know, a bit of ionic colloidal silver. Just listen to your body. When I first started doing the blood cleansing, I was craving different things. So one day I was craving limes. All I wanted was limes, limes, limes. The next day it was salt. And you know, so there's an evolution to things, and as long as you're listening to your body and taking radical self-responsibility for your life and your own health, and not having to rely on others, specifically with white coats, etc. That's just my opinion. You may have another opinion, and that's fine. Fabulously, we're all uniquely different and imperfectly perfect in many different ways. So I do hope it is a beneficial part of your life. Please do try and include it into your day. If you are seriously busy, you know, if you can do it at points, you know, you might even be doing it whilst you're, you know, doing other things. But just try and incorporate it, get excited, get inspired, and just use different ways of also helping your friends, animals around you. Yeah, I mean, we're going to go to a car boot sale to see if other people want to use or buy ionic colloidal silver for any lung issues, etc. So yeah, so lovely to share, and it's been very exciting. We've been very lucky, and Tony is making these Bob Beck machines, and just very lucky for him to know all of this electronic stuff. But anyway, I'm rabbiting on. So lots of love to everybody, and I hope you've enjoyed this. It's quite a long video, actually. It was longer than my last one, but yeah, enjoy, and a happy, progressive and occupied life for all. Thank you. Ciao.